The most challenging part, I think, was going back into the edits, because I wrote it in a pretty short space of time, about 6 weeks over the summer holidays. When I returned to editing in the kind of autumn and winter months, it definitely felt very different. I wasn't in the same headspace, and so it was a little bit of an adjustment getting back into that sort of fever dream state of kind of writing so frantically and trying to get everything down, but it was nice having the distance as well for editing. The characters didn't change terribly from draft to draft. Lily particularly is at the centre of the story, and I knew that I wanted her to be a sort of stereotypical, supposedly dumb blonde, and that the more that we got to know her, the more that we realised that that wasn't true at all, and that she had lots of layers, and that was very clear from the start. I suppose something that did kind of change throughout the drafts was kind of adding more layers to some of the characters, particularly the boys. I felt that Andrew had a kind of rich backstory that I couldn't tell, but I wanted it to become clear through some of his more questionable actions. So it was really more of a kind of developing them and getting their backstory kind of right for each draft. I think the character I probably identified with the most was Becca, who is kind of the person in the group who considers herself above reality television, and yet she is at the centre of a reality television show. I think Becca, is a university student, and she kind of thinks of things a little bit more critically than some of the other contestants, but we definitely see that the longer she spends there, the more that she kind of gets sucked in. So she was a really interesting character for her contradictions for me to write. Not terribly. I think the only thing that got cut that I was kind of sad about was there's a scene where the contestants have to sing and dance Uptown Girl by Billy Joel, and I had a lot of the lyrics in there because I think they're so fabulously kind of at odds with how dire the situation is. In that scene, they're all really genuinely famished and feeling very weak with hunger, and I loved them kind of chanting these ridiculous lyrics, so I had to cut most of it, so I'm a little bit sad about that, but otherwise nothing too terrible was lost along the way. I think because it was such a rushed experience, there wasn't a whole lot of writer's block. There was definitely doubt kind of later on, but I kind of felt during those 6 weeks that it was just a fun time, and really it was a story for my own amusement. I suppose later on there definitely was doubt, but I do think that doubt is a kind of can be a helpful reflective process, and that it doesn't have to be crippling if you sort of understand that doubt has its place, but know that it shouldn't take over. I got a piece of writing advice years ago, which is that you only vomit what you eat in terms of reading and writing, and that you should be reading as much as you can and to the standard that your writing should be at, or that you want it to be at. And I think that for me, I found reading within this genre really, really enlightening, and seeing authors who kind of did what I wanted to do in a really skilled and kind of inventive way was really, really helpful. And I also think that reading, it reminds you of the genuine joy of storytelling, because sometimes when it's just you and the page, it can be a little bit intimidating. So I think when in doubt, go back to reading some really good prose.